Hello, I'm Johnny Rowland, your host of our shooting program, and welcome to today's show. We're so glad to have you. We have another great show for you. I think you're going to enjoy a piece on the Colt revolver we have today, and of course, as always, the judge is certainly hot today. So we do have a great show for you. We're going to go back to the desert in Las Vegas, or outside Las Vegas, and let our friends from the Soldier Fortune Shoot open today's show.
Ready!
Friends, we're really going to look at a very fine handgun today. This is a Colt official police model in .38 Special. And I tell you what, this is an older gun, and the good folks at Britain's, and that's one thing that makes Britain's gun shop so interesting, because they get some of the most neat or the neatest things that come through there. And they're certainly good friends of ours. We do appreciate their support on this program. But the Colt official police, I suppose that was a very fine title, because a lot of police organizations used to issue this gun. Now, it's all steel and has such a smooth action. Of course, no telling how old this gun is, but it has an action that, as long as it's cared for, as long as you take halfway decent care, will go on for many, many years. These guns had a reputation for extreme accuracy. Now, it has the fixed sights. It does not have adjustable sights, but typically, years ago, people only had one load of .38 Special. They might shoot wad cutters, but then they had a duty load. And this gun probably is regulated for a 158 grain lead round nose .38 Special. Well, as we know, the round nose lead bullets are not very efficient nor very effective on anything that they might hit. They have vastly too much penetration. They don't have a lot of power, not a lot of velocity, 750 or so feet per second velocity, which is just not a tremendous energy level with that weight bullet. But they were dangerous in that they would ricochet because of the bullet design. This is one reason that hollow points are much safer bullets, because safer as in they'll stop whatever they are shot into. They'll stop there. They won't go through multiple walls and a lot of other things typically. Well, this is a very, very nice old gun. Whoever had it, no telling. Somebody might have had this in a drawer for many years, but it has this missing part of its finish, but you can tell the polish and all the gun is just excellent. It is a very nice shooter. One of the reasons that a .38 Special is such a good cartridge, one, it is not intimidating. We'll put several wad cutters in here. It is not an intimidating cartridge to a new shooter. It's one that can be learned easily and learned very well as far as accuracy. I just watched the recoil, or rather lack of recoil, in my hands today with wad cutters. Watch this. See, just almost none, about like shooting a 22. Such a nice package. These guns had an action similar to the Colt Python, which is one of the nicest handguns ever made by anybody. That very smooth, has that leaf spring type action on it. And the way these guns worked, and yes, we'll take a closer look in a moment, but at the moment of firing, it is totally locked up. You'll have a little slack in the cylinder there, and we know it's unloaded. But when that trigger is pulled at the moment of firing, it has absolute positive lockup. Now, your new generation Colts are not like that. They're made similar to the Rugers as far as the way they're made. They have transfer bar actions, and you don't have that positive lockup. It was an expensive proposition to make. Friends, it is an absolutely terrific day out here. Yes, it's a little windy, and please overlook that, but it's such a nice day to be out shooting. Our temperatures, even here in Louisiana a couple of days ago, were down 15 degrees, which is a little bit unusual for this part of the country, but that's probably the coldest weather we'll get this year. But it is really nice out here today. Wish you could all be with us. Of course, you can't all be with us. That's why we're on TV, so we can come to your house. Okay, in the past, the .38 Special has had some largely unfair criticism. It's been called ineffective, and in certain bullet loadings, it is ineffective. But with our modern hollow point designs, and especially with the Corbine loads, your .38 Special takes on a different personality. A little quick demonstration here. Let's ease down to our waiting water bottle, and let's take a look. Now then, friends, let's shoot one water bottle, and yeah, they're both frozen from last night, but we'll see what happens. It should demonstrate pretty well. One water bottle with a standard velocity, old-timey 38 special load. Let's take a look at it. Now you can see, literally, let's see if we can pan our camera over here. We have a hole and nothing. You know, we just have a leak there in the bottle, but that was it. Now then, similar water bottle, same situation. Back up just a little. Now we have a Corbine 38 Special. And of course these Colts are good, strong guns. I don't think anyone would have a qualm about shooting in a strong action like this strong gun. I wouldn't worry about certainly carrying Corbine ammunition in it. Let's take a look at a very similar water bottle. Let's see what happens with a Corbine hollow point. All right, friends, let's take our Corbine and work on our water bottle with it. Needless to say, again, like we were saying there, with Corbine ammunition, a 38 Special is no joke. Now, friends, looking at our Colt Official Police here, these are really nicely made guns. A lot of handwork here, you can tell. See, instead of pushing forward like you would on a typical Smith & Wesson, the Colt releases come to the rear and they release the cylinder. Now you do not have a front locking situation. You do have a large bolt here in the back, which is spring loaded of course, that does hold your cylinder in place. And also, let's see if we can get around and see this a little better. See right in here, there are two hands instead of one that will come up and hold that cylinder in place. And yes, maybe we'll get it in a moment. But see the first hand here moving right there, that starts your cylinder up. And finally, just looking back here, the bottom piece there securely locks it in place. So that was a point that Colt sold for many years as far as being accurate. And you can see how it works. You see there's a little play, like in all of them, a little play there in your bolt notch. Of course, this is your bolt right here, the little spring piece that catches, holds the cylinder in place, or lines it up. Now then, go ahead and cock it. It's still there, but when you pull the trigger, it is locked securely. See, there's no play, no movement at all. Now, the only disadvantage in the 357 or so, if you shoot the gun a lot on pythons, they will wear somewhat, but they can be fixed. But by and large, they're a very durable and desirable system, especially for accuracy. Well, this gun also, the Colts rotate to the right, whereas Smith & Wessons rotate to the left. So that was another point Colt said. They said, well, since the cylinder is locked into the frame window this way, it would be more stable. But heck, it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. That's their opinion, and of course it did work. So let's go ahead and shoot the gun. All right, friends, let's go ahead and shoot the gun, and let's see what its accuracy potential is. We have our target out here at about 30 feet. So we'll go ahead and cock it. Now, whoever owned this gun had put some white paint and on the front sight there, which makes it hard to see. In fact, it makes it blur. I'm having difficulty getting a real good picture of the front sight. But let's see what it'll do. Go ahead and thumb cock it here, and let's take a shot. And let's try it again. We'll run a cylinder full through it. And like I said, that one got away from us a little bit because we're having trouble seeing where that front sight is. And of course has a very nice double action also. So anyways, that's 6. Yeah, okay. Well, let's ease up and take a look at our target here and see how it looked. Not so bad. Not so bad for fairly rapid fire shooting. Not so bad. All right, leave it on. Now, friends, what we have here is a one-hole group, and I put some target wad cutters in there, and that's indicative of what the gun actually will do with wad cutters. In fact, 5 shots in literally one hole. So, yeah, these old guns really will shoot. Well, friends, these old revolvers like this are out there and sometimes can be had for a really good price. There are optional grips still available for these guns. There are speed loaders made by companies such as HKS. And I tell you, they're such nice guns. They are rugged, they're durable. You can have a lot of shooting fun. If you don't have very much money to spend and maybe you're looking at a couple of $100s for a semi-automatic, or you have the opportunity for the same money to get one of these older revolvers like a Model 10 Smith & Wesson or this Colt Official Police, trust me, go for the revolver, because you're getting $500 and $600 quality for just $150, $175, $250 up to in that range, which you cannot buy a new or even a used semi-automatic that will approach this quality level in the average gun shop for that amount of money. So these are really excellent shooters. They're excellent trail guns, small game guns, excellent home defense guns. And remember, the 38 Special is so mild you can shoot them just real easy. And then if you need real power, there's always carbine. Yes. You know, Carrie, I think it's as important for you ladies to know how to use these firearms as it is for us men. But you know, there's something else. We can have firearms for defense of our homes and certainly for sport, but we also need information.
Yes, I agree. I think the New American Magazine is the best source of information available in this country.
Well, I would certainly agree. The New American Magazine is the truth and nothing but the truth. And friends, if you would like to know what is really going on in this country and around the world, if you want, in fact, the truth, well, you need to get the New American Magazine. So here's how to do it. You can get the New American by calling 1-800-727-TRUE, and those numbers, of course, are 1-800-727-8783. The New American, $22 for a 6-month subscription. It comes twice a month. Now, friends, with your new Shootin' Show subscription, they will also send you a free copy of what the United Nations is bringing to all of us. So this is very important. Subscribe today. You know, friends, in times like these, which indeed are strange times, we certainly need our firearms, but we also need the information about what's really going on. Order today. To give a gift subscription to the New American Magazine to one of your favorite people, you can do so at the regular price of just $39, and each additional gift subscription is just $29. Again, that's for a full year subscription. The first one, $39. If you give an additional one, it's only $29. Call this number. The gift subscription number is area 414-749-3784. Again, area 414-749-3784. The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. TV station. Your local cable company or TV station.
Get your hands off that gun, bow, or fishing rod. Holding onto your equipment while you're going through the woods or climbing a hill is fatiguing and possibly dangerous. The versatile Tri-Tote all-season carrier is easy to use. You never have to drill a hole in your fine gun stock. And the Tri-Tote can be set up for your specific needs in a jiffy. Just follow the illustrated instructions and free demo video enclosed. There you are, hands-free, yet ready to shoot in an instant. Hunting and fishing have never been more enjoyable. With Tri-Tote, your equipment is secure and your hands are free to support yourself or carry other gear. How did you ever get along without Tri-Tote? Make this year's hunting and fishing the best ever. To order your Tri-Tote at this special TV price, call toll-free 1-800-231-1443. That's 1-800-231-1443.
Well, friends, we hope you're enjoying our program today, and I think I want to say for my esteemed colleague, Leroy Scott here, and myself, we hope that everyone has a very happy Christmas and entire holiday season. Now, you'll notice I didn't say happy holiday season. Hey, it's about Christmas. That's not, that's why we have it. It's Christmas. So we do hope that all of you do. Is that right, sir?
Well, that's right, Johnny, and I'm going to have a happy Christmas and holiday season because I'm taking off from here in about 4 days from now and headed up to Boise, Idaho, where my daughter lives.
Please remember to call Helen Chenoweth, if you will.
I'm going to try to get hold of that lady because I really do admire her. And if you let me take the camera along, I'll see if I can't get an interview with her.
Well, that's a good idea. That's really a good idea because she is doing such a wonderful job. Watching the news here, of course, the friends, we all know that your president is sending troops to Bosnia as fast as he can get them packed. And, of course, what's going on now, you think the government's going to shut down again as we're taping this today?
Well, let's see, Johnny. That's last time it was 800,000 non-essential workers that were furloughed, and this time they're going to be 300,000 non-essential workers.
Well, if they're non-essential, why are they there?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I'm fascinated. In our newsletter this week, our newsletter that's going out soon, I made the comment of shades of George Orwell's 1984. Orwell was right on the button on what was fixing to happen. He just had it timed a little wrong. Instead of 1984, it's probably 1997 or 8 or 9, depending on who gets elected president this next time. I don't know how many of you have read 1984. It's the most interesting book. And it has a lot of things in it that seem so absurd. Terms, the language has been prostituted. War is peace. That's one I remember particularly because it's the height of absurdity. But it was such a travesty. And yet we're finding that right now. The Democrats continue to insist that the Republican budget cuts Medicare, that it cuts Medicaid. And those are just categorically not true. What they do is to slow the rate of increase. Where currently we're spending about a little over $4,000 a year on every Medicaid patient, on the average. In 2002, in the 7 years from now, they'll be spending about $67,000, almost $7,000 per Medicaid patient. Now that's an increase of about 50%. It's only a cut when you get to Washington. I don't understand their language. I don't understand their use of the language, and I don't understand how people can stand up there with their bare faces hanging out and say something like that. I just don't figure it out. And unfortunately, it leads people to believe, well, all politicians are liars or crooks. And that's not true, but it certainly does apply to some of them.
Well, Bill Clinton will say anything. I mean, this is what is so ridiculous about his presidency. He'll say anything at all. Now, honestly, if you look back, we haven't had what I think most of us would call stellar personalities as president in this century. I think there have been more worthless ones than there probably have been good ones if you put the numbers to it. We've had a lot of people that were dishonest, that were nothing but political animals as president of this United States, which we're saddled with right now. And it is distressing. It's hard being a free people because there are always the Hitlers, the Stalins, the Mao Zedongs, the Julius Caesars, the Attila the Huns. This is an ongoing proposition in human nature, and we forget that. Don't you agree?
Well, ambition is certainly there. It's always there, and I guess you've got to have a certain amount of ambition in order to get into positions of political leadership, because you get aggravated about what's happening. Reminds me of that senator from Tennessee who's a doctor. They say he didn't even register to vote until about 10 years ago. Well, he said it took him that long to get mad enough. And the whole idea of our country was that we would have citizen legislators who would go and do the job and then turn around and go back home. As it is, politics has become a profession.
When you say go back home and go to work at a real job.
That's right. Go back to work at a real job, like the Roman Cincinnatus.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the greatest stories. Those of you, I don't have time to tell it here, but those of you that aren't familiar with the story of the Roman Cincinnatus, the great Roman general, get your dictionary out or your encyclopedia out and read about him. It is really a fascinating story and one of true, honest leadership. And yet when the need for the leadership is gone, he goes back home to his farm and picks up farming again.
So there are some decent people out there. I would venture to say that George Washington, a lot of the folks there at the Continental Congress wanted to make George Washington king, didn't they?
Yes, it did. It was offered to him, and Washington was really a great man. And that's something I like about Patrick Buchanan. He says when he gets to be president, and I realize it's an uphill battle, but incidentally, our present governor started off with less than 1% in the polls too. That's our present governor of Louisiana. That's Foster. But Buchanan says that when he gets to be president, it's going to be Washington's birthday again. It's not going to be President's Day.
Well, good for him.
The father of our country. And it's a funny thing. We've got a debate going on now about English, about using English as the official language.
As the national language.
There was something on television about that last night. There are instructions and ballots printed in some states in as many as 20 different languages.
What?
As many as 20 different languages.
20? I didn't know
including Korean, Japanese, Chinese, I don't know what else. Just, of course, always the regular ones: Spanish, French, Italian. But I am in favor of the English language being the official language of our country. But do you know, it was only by one vote in the Continental Congress that English was chosen as our national language instead of German.
Now, why was that?
And I can't. I'm not really up on the details of the history of it, but I know that English was adopted by one vote.
So we may not be as secure in our languages as we might feel.
Well, that insecurity is 200 and some odd years old, Johnny. But the things on TV last night where they had whole sections of town where signs and everything else were in some foreign language, some other language. It reminded me of the old story somebody used to say when he got into something he couldn't understand. He says, "Where does an alien register?"
Well, you said something earlier about the doublespeak that the Democrats, especially liberal Democrats, are doing right now. Well, if we begin to adopt those terms as part of our language, it's going to really be confusing because, if you were trying to slow down out here on the highway, or maybe you wanted to go from 45 to 55 or 65, that would now be, well, cut your speed. Democratic cut would mean an increase in speed. A democratic increase, right? A democratic increase in speed would be from 45 to 55, which would be a cut, but it would be an increase.
Johnny, I don't understand what you're saying, and I don't understand what they're saying either, because it doesn't make good common English language sense to me.
Absolutely not.
Incidentally,
what?
There was an election in California.
Yes.
This makes 60 Democrats in the House of Representatives have been replaced by Republicans, and no incumbent Republicans defeated. 60 Democrats defeated. This was a special election in California. The Democrats sought to make Speaker Gingrich the issue in the campaign.
Right.
They lost about 60% to 40%.
Couldn't happen to nicer, more deserving
And
people.
then they started saying, well, this guy wasn't really a Gingrich clone anyhow. He was he was an independent.
Well, the news media right now is lambasting Newt Gingrich and any conservative. They're trying as hard as they can. And, you know, folks, it's just not true. People are not upset with, because everyone realizes, you know, all of us in our daily lives have to balance our budget. Everyone does. I mean, you know, any amount of money that any one of us has is only one check away from being totally wiped out. Don't you agree? So, all of us. Well, why not our country? Why aren't these people responsible enough? You know, it would be nice to, you know, I guess you could go down and charge the world on your charge card, but eventually it's got to be paid. What's wrong with that? You know, what's wrong that our leaders, the people in Washington, what it is, you have some out-of-control politicians trying to buy votes.
Well, Johnny, they're not even talking about paying off the debt.
No.
They're talking about just cutting the outgo enough to equal the income. And it's not really cutting the outgo, it's causing the outgo to increase less rapidly than it's been increasing, and then letting the economy grow until it catches up with it. That's not...
That's the same thing as saying, well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slow down my rate of spending just a little, hoping I'll get enough raises in my job to eventually catch up. Now, wait a minute. That's kind of faulty
well,
thinking.
it is. Incidentally, Phil Graham says if he can't balance the budget in 4 years, he won't stand for re-election. Now, I like that.
Yeah, that's
He
impressive.
says, I won't even run for re-election if I can't get it balanced in 4 years. Not 7, not 10, but in 4 years. I don't know what Pat Buchanan's had to say about that. We're going to try to have an interview with him
In the next couple of days, yeah.
in the next few days. He's going to be here speaking to the Rush Limbaugh Supper Club, and Johnny and I are going to go out and I'll still be here. We're going to go out and try to get an interview with him, and I'll try to get an interview with Helen Chenoweth,
Absolutely.
and maybe with both of the representatives from Idaho, because those two representatives and those two senators are right at the top of my list of being fine people.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, friends, there's also there's not another gun control group. There's another anti-gun organization that's been established in Washington, and they're running ads in some of the magazines, and we had one faxed to us a few days ago. And more of the same. These people are not, in fact, they're diversifying. They're getting more organizations. There are no more anti-gun people, but let me tell you what, the ones that are out there, I say no more in addition to what's already there. The ones out there are active, they are dedicated, they are committed, and they're also nuts. So we have to stand firm against these people, because if we don't...
Well, they're using the example of this child who, 12, 13 years old, girl, that's certainly old enough to know better if you've lived around your home and your family for a long time. She was going to spend the night out over at one of her friends' homes. Father called, checked to make sure she was going to be there and it was all right. She leaves and then comes back home secretly, gets into a closet, makes a little noise. Her mother hears a noise in the closet, and Father gets up and, as any sensible person would do, gets himself prepared for a challenge by carrying his handgun. She jumps out of the closet and hollers boo, and just instinctively and reflexively, knowing that his child was not at home,
Right, knowing that.
shot her and killed her. And they've got an advertisement. You know, that's an advertisement against guns. That's nonsense. It could have happened to me. It could have happened to you. But it did almost happen to me once. Only my daughter knew. She knew what I had there, and she knew that when I heard a little noise out in the hall in the middle of the night, and I slipped a revolver out between the mattress and the box springs, just to make sure that if the challenge, I thought it was my daughter, but
But you didn't know that.
no, I didn't know that, and if my challenge was hostile, then I wanted to be prepared to meet it.
Sure.
And she heard that.
And
She heard that little noise.
And she let you know that certainly it was her. Just
Oh, well, yes.
absolutely. And you know, I think it is. I cannot understand a situation like this young lady that this happened to. We're very sorry that this accident happened.
Of course.
Of course we're sorry. But you know, friends, that's one of the reasons that we're on the air here, because we want to teach people, to instruct people on how to properly handle these firearms, how to have firearms in the home among our families.
Well, we still know, Johnny, that even though a few people are killed with firearms, that 2.5 million times a year they're used to prevent crimes.
Absolutely.
I started keeping guns around the house. I waited until my kids were old enough, until they could understand the use of guns and had been trained in the use of them, and had gone out and shot anything they thought they were big enough to hold. But I decided, with the publicity that accompanied the Charles Manson episode back there, that my family was not going to be held hostage.
Absolutely. Well, I agree completely. And you know, there's another thing that I do want to mention on this week's program. I heard about a hunting accident one day this week in our area. And hunting is one of the safest sports. Hunting is way, way, way down the list as far as accidents
Just
happening.
down at the bottom. Bicycling is up close to the top. And
much more dangerous than hunting. And I heard about someone, they took a shot at a noise in the woods. Now, my own opinion is, if someone is stupid enough to take a shot at a noise anyway, at a noise, whether it's a supposed intruder or a supposed animal in the woods, well, I think they ought to be horsewhipped. I mean, I just think that they have no business being out there. And then when someone does make a move like that, well, they will pay dearly for the rest of their lives. And again, that's one of the reasons we're on the air, because these things have to get some notice. They have to be talked about.
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station.
So, Johnny, how's the health club going?
Well, Alicia, I'm glad you asked that, because the health club is going great, in fact. I tell you what, friends, we've heard from so many people all over the country that are getting such fabulous results from the products that we have available through our health club. Let me remind you, some of you out there will want an opportunity to make some extra money, and it is really a wonderful opportunity. We do have some things available that, and please, when you call in, let us know if you'd be interested in doing some distribution for some of our products, because it is absolutely, as I've said before, this is one of the great discoveries of my adult life. You know, when I was approached, I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago with these things, they said, you know, Johnny, you're going to feel better or your money back. I mean, I said, well, sure I am. Yeah, great. Friends, trust me on this one. It is absolutely, they are wonderful. My weight management program, Alicia, I tell you what, another 30 days, I'm going to be there. I have set myself a goal. Yes, I am. I'm gonna be there another 30 days. I think, and of course, the beauty part about the health management program, it's really not a diet. It's a system of healthy living, and it's healthy nutrition. It's just an absolutely terrific situation that we have available. Friends, you can call us if you want health club information. Call us 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name and address. Our staff is small, but they're doing the best they can to keep up, and we'll get some information out to you as quickly as possible. Again, 1-800-895-7916. It certainly helps our program, but you know what? It'll help you even more. For Health Club information, give us a call, 1-800-895-7916. Leave your name, address, and phone number. Someone will get back to you as soon as possible. Friends, this is such a wonderful thing. Do it for yourselves today.
You know, friends, it's rare in any field of manufacture that one particular company has a clear-cut advantage over the others. Well, in this case, it's Corbin Ammunition, Corbin Bullet Company, because they make the best handgun, long gun, and even some specialty caliber ammunition that's been real hard to get in the past. If you really want your handgun or rifle to perform at their absolute best, you need to find some Corbin ammunition. For information on where you can get Corbin, information on their product line, call them. Corbin Bullet Company, 1-800-626-7266. Again, give them a call. It's a free call, 1-800-626-7266. Trust me on this one. Corbin is the best there is.
Well, you know, Johnny, accidents are going to happen. There's no way you can prevent accidents from happening. People drive automobiles, they get injured. People ride horses, they get injured. Some of them get killed. That's no reason to do away with horses, no reason to do away with automobiles. There are a certain number of pure, plain accidents that are going to happen, and we can't do anything except to minimize them. Now, we have minimized accidents with guns way down. The accident rate is way below what it used to be. And programs like NRA's Eddie Eagle program have gone a long ways toward doing things like that. Understand, I'm a life member of the NRA, and I care about the NRA. But GOA, Gun Owners of America, is still the most militant of the organizations in protecting our rights. And one of the things that's up right now is that terrorism bill. And they have pointed out all of the things that are wrong with it, and they've faxed stuff to their people on that fax network. I was among them, and I would commend any of you who are not members of Gun Owners of America to do so. It's $20 a year. It's well worth it. It's worth that to me, not for the literature I get or for the information I get, but just because somebody is speaking for me where I can't speak or where I can't be to speak, and is doing it regularly and consistently and analyzing bills that I don't have time to read. The pure bulk and mass of stuff that's introduced in Congress is beyond comprehension. Even the crime bill several years ago, it was almost 1,000 pages long.
Well, I'd venture to say that almost no one who voted on that crime bill had actually read it.
Probably not.
Probably not. So, in fact, this is how so much of the boondoggery that goes on gets passed, because nobody really knows what they're voting on. That's why our senators and our congressmen have to be held accountable. They've got to pay attention. And we do wish these folks that are holding a hard line now on trying to force Clinton to at least halfway cooperate. I mean, the man's a nut.
Well, Gun Owners of America does as much to help that as any organization could do with the resources that they have. Now, NRA does a lot, but I got aggravated with NRA when they endorsed that congressman down in South Texas, Brooks, who was chairman of the House Judiciary Committee and who voted and produced the crime bill. And he got defeated by Stockman, and Stockman is a fine congressman. And, of course, they'll be out after his hide. Gun Owners of America is going to help him all they can.
Well, we will, too.
And well, yes, I'm certainly going to tell people. I don't know how many listeners how many viewers. I keep calling them listeners.
Well, they listen. In Steve's district.
In South Texas. I know there are a bunch of them. Incidentally, while I'm in Idaho for 10 days, I'll be there in Boise. Any of our viewers in that area that want to call me or talk to me or let's
visit.
Just visit some. Feel free to do so. I'll be at my daughter's home. I don't even know if her telephone is listed or not, but the 800 number will know how to get hold of me.
That's true. We can show. Sure.
800 number will know how to get hold of me, and I'll be happy to visit with you and to meet with you. And if any of you have gun clubs up there that are having a meeting at that particular time, and would like to have me come and visit with you, I'd be happy to do so.
That's great, Judge. Well, we again want to wish everyone a very happy Christmas. We hope you have a safe holiday season. And please, we want everyone to enjoy if they're on a Christmas vacation. Well, that's great. Please take care, because you know what, friends? We need every viewer that we've got. We need every last one of you. And because without you, we wouldn't be here. We do appreciate you being in place. And hey, let's you know, by all means, stay tuned, because we've got a lot of ground to cover. Now, friends, we want to say a short word about the good folks down at American Derringer in Waco, Texas. You know, the Derringer is a unique package for personal protection, and I want to remind you that the American Derringers are in calibers all the way from little calibers up to this very fine 40 S&W, and if you're real serious, you can get it all the way to 45-70, which is pretty unbelievable, actually, but yes, it does work. It's called their Alaskan Survival Guide model, or Survival Guide, Alaskan Survival model. How about that? But these are really excellent and well-made little guns, and you can see that the Derringer is quite a bit smaller than even the smaller snubbies. It's quite a bit of difference there in the size. And as a backup gun or a hideout gun, and especially the American Derringer quality, these are really just excellent guns. They're all stainless steel, very, very high quality, and they function just terrifically. So we do want to say a good word for information on the full line of American Derringer products. Here's how. For information on the American Derringer product line, call them at 1-800-642-7817. Again, 1-800-642-7817. You know, friends, all of us as shooting enthusiasts should be subscribing to Shotgun News, the trading post for anything that shoots. 3 big issues monthly with literally thousands and thousands of firearms bargains. Give them a call, 1-800-345-6923, a very inexpensive subscription price. Again, 1-800-345-6923. Subscribe today.
If you are a boater or a birder, if you ever carry a camera, Bi-Tote is for you. It is the most comfortable binocular and camera carrier on the market today. And its all-elastic quick change feature makes it possible to switch from one piece of equipment to another without missing a beat. If you think that carrying binoculars or cameras is a pain in the neck, try Bi-Tote. For the first time, your equipment will feel almost weightless, and you'll be free of that annoying swinging and bouncing which is hard on your body as well as the equipment, especially when you're negotiating rough terrain or on a pitching boat. One hand for you, one hand for the boat, and Bi-Tote for your binoculars or camera. They'll be ready for you instantly, held firmly in position. They're always there, not buried in a locker or other out-of-the-way place. And the Bi-Tote is totally adjustable for a custom fit. All necessary adapters and complete instructions are included with your Bi-Tote. How did you ever get along without it?
The Shootin' Show will be right back after this break for your local cable company or TV station. And now, friends, we're very pleased to present Art Alphin of the great A Square Company. For those of you who don't know, Art is a former instructor at West Point, and he has some of these wonderful things to say, some of the most interesting things that I've ever seen on firearms. And so let's see what he has to tell us today.
Common belief amongst many people is that if only Custer had had Winchester lever-action rifles, he would never have been massacred at the last stand. You've seen the Model 1873 Springfield before. It is an improvement of Erskine Allen's trapdoor of 1866. This weapon, in carbine form, was the weapon of the 7th Cavalry. This is the 1873 Winchester. It holds 12 rounds in its tubular magazine. In order to fire, the shooter need only move the lever down and up. This extracts and ejects the old cartridge case, feeds a new cartridge into the chamber, and cocks the rifle. Let's watch the Winchester strut its stuff on the range. You saw the extreme difficulty in loading the Winchester's magazine. When you put the lever action against the clock, all of a sudden its volume of fire is not so great. Further, some of the rounds were hitting short. When you fire at the extremely high rate, which I did with the first magazine full, 12 rounds in 15 seconds, you find that you can't reacquire the sight picture because the slap of the upward motion of the lever knocks the barrel downwards. If you are to deliver accurate fire, you must take 2 or 3 seconds after the motion of the lever to reacquire your sight picture. On the chart, it looks like this. The difference in volume between the two rifles is not that great. And remember, with the trapdoor Springfield, when the range closes, his volume of fire will go up to 9 or 10. And the Winchester at 13 is going flat out constantly. What about the range? Are we cheating the Winchester? Surely it must be better than this. In fact, we're giving the Winchester the benefit of the doubt. The Model 1873 Winchester was chambered for 4 different cartridges. The most powerful of them was the 4440. That's a 200 grain 44 caliber bullet with 40 grains of black powder. Chronographed on modern instruments, it delivers just over 1,000 feet per second. This means that the Model 1873 Winchester is only slightly more powerful than the .45 automatic of today. The Winchester was about a 120-yard rifle at best. In fact, at 120 yards, the Winchester had roughly the energy of a .45 automatic at 80 yards. Why did Winchester use such weak cartridges? The Model 73 was really a very poor design. Though it looks on the outside like a nice big lever action, when you take the side plate off, you find a different story. The bolt is held forward by this toggle arrangement, and the toggle is held closed by the fingers holding the lever against the grip of the rifle. You couldn't make it for any more powerful a cartridge. When this design was scaled up in 1876, the result was still no good. The design is weak and extremely inefficient in length. It simply will not take long, powerful cartridges. Further, Mr. Winchester's production couldn't keep up with his boasts. In 1873, he produced only 126 rifles. It wasn't until the 1880s before Oliver Winchester was capable of consistently producing these rifles in large quantity. When he did produce them, he was producing them for deer hunters, other people who were shooting at close range, and for people who wanted a rifle that fired the same cartridge as their revolver. It was not until 1886 when manufacturing capability and design caught up with desire. These came together in the 1886 Winchester. You can see the two locking lugs sliding in corresponding slots in the receiver which lock the bolt closed. This was the first lever action that would take the large black powder cartridges that ranged out to 150 yards and beyond. By 1886, however, the buffalo were gone and the Indians largely defeated. So let us get back to the time frame at hand. Was the lever action Winchester of 1873 totally devoid of redeeming social value? No. Not exactly. In the hands of trained troops, led by men who understood the capabilities and limitations of the Winchester, and who were willing to weave that into their battle plan and their tactical organization, the Winchester might still contribute to the successful outcome of battle. A good example is the Battle of Plevna in 1877. In this battle, the Russians were charging across open ground towards Turkish entrenchments. The Turks, during the 1870s, had been on a weapons buying spree throughout the industrialized world. They had bought a large number of Mauser single shots, Remington rolling blocks, and Peabody single shots, among others. They had also bought a number of Henry and Model 1873 Winchesters. At Plevna, they equipped each and every man with a long-range single-shot breech loader and its ammunition, and with a Winchester lever action and its ammunition. As the Russians attacked, the Turks engaged them at long range and extracted heavy casualties. Only when the pitiful remnants of the Russian attack closed to within 80 yards did the officers order their men to put down the single shots and use the Winchesters, which were sitting ready with full magazines. The resulting storm of lead literally blew the Russians from the field before the magazines were empty. How about the 7th Cavalry at the Battle of the Little Bighorn in 1876? Would Winchesters have saved them? I doubt it. The 7th Cavalry had a very high percentage of raw recruits. Discipline was quite poor, and there was little strong junior officer or NCO leadership. Custer, with his 5 troops or companies, allowed himself to be surprised by a vastly superior enemy at close range. Based on the location of the bodies, it is apparent that his companies were out of mutual supporting distance. They could not mass their fire, and Custer either made no attempt or could not make any attempt to do any better. The Indians were at close range when the contact started, and they literally stormed over the troopers. I should point out that based on the evidence of weapons confiscation from the Indians in the period 1876 to 1892, we can assume that of the Indians that attacked Custer, only 1 in 3 had a firearm, and of that 1 in 3, fewer than 1 of 3 again, 1 of 3 again, had any sort of breech loader or repeater whatsoever. Out of those weapons, you could expect a further 20 to 25% that would not work due to lack of spare parts or ammunition. Custer engaged a numerically superior enemy under conditions that suited the enemy's weapons, mostly bow and arrow and shock weapons, and his numbers. No other weapon in existence at that time could have saved Custer. How about the other portion of Custer's command, Reno and Benteen? They paid a heavy price in close-range engagements with the Indians as they retreated to the top of a hill. Once there, they slew their horses and commenced to dig in. From that position, the long-range fire from their 45-70s kept the Indians at bay and repulsed 3 determined assaults. These troops did have trouble with extraction and ejection of cartridge cases from their 45-70 trapdoor carbines. However, the reason was that they carried their cartridges in leather loop cartridge belts. Tanning acids from leather quickly corrode the copper in the brass cartridge case, forming a green verdigris. When you fire a cartridge with this verdigris on it, it will expand in the chamber and literally weld itself within the chamber. Standard procedure at the time was to take the cartridges from the belt daily, clean, and oil them. This was simply not done in the 7th Cavalry. Do not think that this is a problem only in the 1870s. In the 1930s through 1950s, more than a few police officers were slain for the very same reason. If you look at Winchester and Remington advertisements of the 1950s, you will find that they advertise police ammunition in .38 Special where the cartridge cases are plated with nickel so that this verdigris will not form. Back to Reno and Benteen. As the days wore on before Reno's and Benteen's relief, the Indians stopped charging.